What's up everybody, I'm here with Sew Yeah Quilting. Now in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how you make this beautiful quilt behind me called Feather. Let's get started. Now before we dive on into the cutting instructions, let's dive on into the actual quilt itself. As you can see here, it looks complex, and that is why I love this particular quilt. Is for all you beginner quilters out there, or the people who feel like they're beginners, this is the quilt you're going to want to do, and let me tell you why. Half square triangles here, and we're going to be using the 8 half square triangles at a time method. So essentially speaking, we only have to make 2 sets of these, and the other ones just come free with the sewing method that we're using today, which is amazing. In addition to that, a little square here with a snowball edge, a rectangle with 4 snowball edges, and then a little center pendant there using the snowball method as well. So these are 2 of the simplest techniques out there to make our quilt blocks. But in addition to that, look at the depth and the dynamics it adds to the quilt. Absolutely beautiful. So let's dive on into the cutting instructions. So cutting instructions, we are going to be using Vega strips today. If you don't know what a Vega strip is, they are 6.5 inches by width of fabric. They come in 20 or 21 strips per pack, essentially being a little bit more than a yard extra compared to a jelly roll or a layer cake. What I love about them is it allows us to make stunning things like this, like you see behind me. In addition, it shows off the actual prints a little bit better. Let's open this one up. And I want to say that this is a Allison Glass Designs from Andover. Look how pretty this one is. Now, just for the sake of tutorial, I'm going to be using one of these beautiful colors inside of here. It's all the same print. Oh, I guess there's multiple prints in this one. It's all different prints, but in these absolutely saturated colors, which we love to see. Now, I'm going to pick one of the colors that shows up awesome on screen, like that beautiful turquoise. Understanding that with the Vega strip pattern that I'm currently doing, you're going to do the exact same cuts to all your strips, but in today's tutorial, I'm only making one block, so let's get into the cutting. So as far as the cutting for this, we're going to start off by cutting off 2 6.5 inch squares, which I'm doubled up here because it's folded in half. And then from there, I need 4 4.5 by 6.5 inch strips, which is awesome because that's the width of my fabric there. Makes that super easy. In addition to that, I need a 4.5 inch square and some 2.5 inch squares on top of that. So let's get to cutting. So I first cut my 6 inch there, and I'm going to turn this sideways to make it 6 inch square. That one is done. Going on to my 4.5 by 6.5. So I've got 2. So those are my 4. I need a 4.5 inch square and some 2.5 inch squares. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these to get my 4.5 off this one because I only need one of those. So that right there is a remnant, not very much. Turn this around the other direction. Just like that, guys, 4.5 inch square. I'll be pulling that aside. And now with this little piece, I'm going to cut 2 2.5 inch strips. I'm going to subcut those to be 2.5 inch squares, which will end up with 4 2.5 inch squares. 2.5 inch strip. So I'm going to stack these. And just because I'm working at the end of this strip here a little bit, I am going to go ahead and just true off this edge a little bit here. I wouldn't normally do that, but it seems to just be a hair wonky, which happens, guys. Anything in strip sets can get a little bit wonky. So I'm gonna just cut off the slightest little bit there and work on some 2.5 inch squares. Almost nothing as far as the remnant side goes, which is awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and stack these. And then I already went ahead and pre-cut down my background fabric because it's essentially the same shapes there. 6.5 inch square, 6.5 by 4.5, 4.5 square, and a 2.5 inch square, which you just saw me cut down there. Now for your background fabric, 2.5 inch squares, 4.5 inch squares, and 6.5 inch squares. So I'm not gonna bore you with that footage there of me cutting down this. Actually, we're probably gonna give them a little bit of B-roll of me, and then we'll have our quilt block. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna start with the hardest one of these to make all the way down to the easiest one. So let's start off with the hardest one, and it will be a breeze. I'm gonna take a 4.5 inch white square. I'm gonna take one of our colored squares, and the rest of these can go to the side. Just so everyone has the same reference point, every one of these steps I'm doing 4 times, because as you can see, 1, 2, 3, and 4, it is equally the same on all 4 sides. And so all I'm going to do here, place my little square down. I'm going to mark corner to corner to give myself a nice sew line. Now, obviously, if you're good enough, you can just freehand this, go for it. Now I'm going to sew directly onto that line. So now that it's like this, I'm going to go ahead and cut 1/4 inch away. And then I'm going to open up this to be looking just like so. Super simple, guys. which is gonna make that portion of our block. Super easy. I like to open up all my seams. You can press to the dark side, whatever floats your boat. And guys, just like that, the very first portion, which is right here, of all 4 of my blocks are done here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just stack these up, set them aside, and we're gonna start working on some half square triangles. Now, half square triangles, we're using the 8 at a time method. That way I get all my triangles all at once. It's very simple on how to do them. I'm going to lay these down. I'm gonna take 2 of my 6.5 inch white squares, lay them together. I'm going to mark corner to corner, both directions, essentially drawing a really big X. And guys, this is where the non-slip rulers really start shining. So now I've got these all marked up here. I'm gonna be sewing a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of the line, on both lines. So let me go ahead and do that next. Got my X sewn essentially twice on both sides. I'm gonna go ahead and repeat this process to this one, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and show you how we're gonna finish this up. We are going to take our ruler, cut directly on our draw line, on our little marked line there. And then I'm gonna cut the other direction, keeping this all together here. You want it to be perfect. I'm gonna cut these directly in half. I'm gonna cut it this direction, and then I'm going to cut it the opposite direction. At this point, I'll have 8 half square triangles, ta-da, which are beautiful. Now it's time to size these things up because we want to cut them to be square. I like to use the Clearly Perfect Slide trimmer ruler. That's my preferred go-to, just because of simple and ease of the whole thing. I'm going to be cutting off 2 sides and then trimming it up, getting rid of those little dog ears, like so. I think it's the preferred method. Now, any method that keeps it square will work. You want to be squaring these to be 2.5 inches. So guys, I went ahead and pressed out my half square triangles, looking great here. Now it's time to form the very first block, which is very simple. We're gonna take our little snowballed background print here, or background block, I guess I should say. And then we're going to line it with a couple of half square triangles. Nothing too fancy here, but there is an order of operations here, and let me show you what that is. I need 4 half square triangles. This is gonna point to the corner, and we're going to put these guys floating around here. So they're all pointing the same direction. However, see how these point like this, and that points directly out? I'm gonna add a little white square to the edge here. This is the order of operations. We're gonna sew these 2 pieces together, these 3 pieces together. Then we're gonna sew this piece to this piece, this piece to this piece, finishing off that block. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sewing my little rows together here. And again, I'm doing this 4 times over. That way I have all 4 corners. Now I'm gonna take these to the iron them, and then we're gonna finish up this block. I'm gonna take this, right sides together. Add that piece to finish it off. Just like that, quilt block is complete. Now I gotta make 4 more of these for all 4 sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then we're gonna move on to the next block. So guys, sewed up my other blocks here. Now you can see that that would make a cool quilt block just as itself. So there's multiple quilt blocks kind of hidden throughout this actual quilt that we're making, which is cool. But these are my 4 corners. I'm gonna go ahead and stack them all up, set them aside, and then we're gonna go to our center piece here, which is right here. It is super easy to make. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna take a 4.5 inch square, and then I'm essentially snowballing off all 4 edges. I'm gonna go ahead and lay out 4 of these, mark them corner to corner, and then I'm gonna lay them all the way around, sew directly on that line. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one by one, sew directly across, cut, iron, sew the next one. Now, the reason why I am doing this particular process instead of just doing all of them all at once is that to get the best crisp look, you gotta take, sew, cut, iron, sew, cut, iron, and it gives you the best look. Now, you could just throw them all on there, sew, and it might be a little bit out of square, but for the best result, go sew, cut, iron. So you can see how that came out just great. This will just give it the absolute most clean look possible. Because I've seen that snowballs can get a little bit wonky, and it's okay. It's okay because we can always trim it back up. But to avoid that, the best way possible is just take it one by one. So you can see how we're changing the orientation of this square, right? We're turning it into a diamond. Place my next one down, again intersecting with the white directly across there. So now on the last one here, I'm going to take my last piece and I want it to intersect on both sides, white and white. So it's going to be going directly across. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I like to press open my seams. I always have been that way. Look how pretty that is. And then also, look how pretty the back of this is. It's how I like to do it. You can always just press the dark side. It'll work just fine as well. So block number 2 is done. Now it's time to work on our final block, which is super easy as well. This is kind of an elongated one. It's the exact same thing that we just did to make our little square here, but we don't have them intersect at all. And so there's just a top and a bottom that we're putting on, and we need 4 of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay these out, and we're able to do 2 sides at a time on this one. I'm gonna pull out 16 of my white squares. I'm gonna mark them all, so I'm gonna get them all counted out here, and then we're gonna just snowball off some edges. I'm gonna do all the right side on all 4 of these, then I'm gonna do all the left side on all 4 of these. So I'm gonna drop the top one on, and it's gonna be the top left to bottom right that has been marked. And I'm gonna do the exact opposite to the bottom. So it'll be the top right to bottom left. Then from here, I'm gonna sew them all, cut them all, iron them all, repeat the exact same step, but in mirrored form on the left side. Right side is complete. Now it's time to do the left side. Exactly the same thing, making sure that our line also intersects with the white here, like so. And we're going to turn these all into little points, and then we're going to do it to both top and bottom. So I went ahead and finished up my last 4 blocks here. Now it's time to assemble this thing, and it's so easy to assemble. I'm gonna grab our, well, there's only one of this one, right? The 1 block of this, and then we're gonna put these diamonds surrounding it. 1, 2, 3, and 4, which we could just add white squares, another very pretty block, but we're gonna keep on going here. I'm gonna take my last block here, and I'm gonna load these in all the way around with our blue portion here, or turquoise portion, pointing inwards. You can see how the construction of this is so cool, because very, very simply put, snowballed pieces here and a couple of half square triangles, you've got this really intense block. Very, very dynamic, and it's gonna make you look like you've been sewing for 100 years. Although it's a very, very simple technique. I would give this, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, a 2 in difficulty. Like, this is a very simple one. So let's go ahead and finish it. We're gonna sew them into rows, row 1, 2, and 3, and then we're gonna sew those rows together. But before we sew up this quilt block, we've got a favor to ask all of you. If you've liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and don't be afraid to share it with your friends. And guys, we do everything for free here, as much as we possibly can, and even down in the description below is a free PDF pattern of this quilt. That way you can follow along at your own pace. So if you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe. Let's finish up this block. So guys, time to finish this up. We're gonna sew our rows together, right sides together, and finish this thing off, give it a good press, and then the final reveal. 60-something pieces in this one. So there's lots of little pieces in this. And so guys, just like that, our quilt block is complete. Like I said at the beginning of the video, is that it takes two very simple techniques: half square triangles and snowball edges to make the entirety of this block, and you got to see a couple of other block iterations in there. If you just use your cornerstone, makes a beautiful block. If you just take our little diamonds here and add some white, it'll give it a very modern look. Lots of different options here. But the moral of the story here is that, like I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is probably a 2 in difficulty. Pretty much any beginner out there can go ahead and make this, and it'll impress your friends because it looks way harder than what it truly is. And with that, guys, if you've liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and don't be afraid to share it with your friends. As always, down in the description below, there's a free PDF download of this pattern. That way you can follow along at home at your own pace. And if you've enjoyed the video and you've made it to this part, make sure that you check out some of our other videos that are here on screen just to get some more inspiration and see some of the amazing quilts that we've made. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.